video in a week or so, but here I am, right? So, from the beginning of time, my mother and her youngest daughter, CNV King, or Charlene Nicole Vance. She's CNV King on Facebook. But ever since the beginning of time, when I made the decision after having the conversation with my mother about coming back to college to finish my nursing degree, and I did. The school, of course, was out of town. So after having that discussion with my mother, and she told me that it was okay, my mother decided that she would begin the, I don't know how to describe it, the mission of having my son call the youngest one, CNV King, Charlene Nicole Vance, mom. Not that I wasn't around, not that I was not active in his life, because when the truth is told, I was very active in his life. And we go to every weekend, and even would call during the week to speak to my son. However, it got to a point where I wasn't allowed to speak to my son. I was either told I didn't need to speak to him and have the phone hung up, so I couldn't further that conversation. They would hang up the phone. Mainly it was number 4. Or I was told by number 4, you think you're the only one that can raise him, or some idiotic mess like that. And so I eventually dropped out of college, moved my son to where I was at, which was in Winston-Salem. Went back into an abusive relationship just to keep my son away from them, because it confused my son, and I saw what it was doing to him emotionally. So my son was only maybe 3 years old when all of that has happened. So over the course of his life, he's well over, he's a grown man now. He's 24, 25 this year. But ever since then, it became like a competition. And I say that because I don't know any other way to describe it. It became like a competition. This is what your mom does for you. Look at what we can do for you. Look at what's going on with you and your mom. I was a single parent. And not just single parents, but sometimes you hit hurdles, financial struggles, and things of that sort. But I didn't have any men living in my house. I didn't have men in and out of my life, because I didn't want that for my son. I didn't want him to grow up thinking that that's what men do. That's what you're supposed to do. I dated, but it wasn't until just before he graduated high school, because I wanted my focus to be only on him, raising my son. And never had men living in my house. Never had that kind of lifestyle. You know, we were in church. We did community service work. All kinds of things that kept my son active. He did teen court here in Winston-Salem and did very, 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 very well with that. One thing that he did for a brief time, for a while before he graduated high school. So he was very active, doing different things. Played the violin, was on the chess club, was the only black child on the chess club. I think it was in elementary school, middle school. But because because I didn't have what they had. Not that they had more than me, but it was always, oh, it could be so much better if your mama, meaning me, this is the things that they would tell my son. And sometimes would even come back and tell me, well, Jennifer, you wouldn't have to go through this if you just do what we tell you to, or if you just do this, which is what they told me to do. And that kind of thing was like a way to control me, to say, well, your mom is not doing what we tell her to do. So that's why it is the way that it is. Not that the way that it was just terrible, because it wasn't, you know. It wasn't like I was a druggie or just was in the clubs. Negative. None of that. And anybody that knew me when I was raising my son, they know who I was as a mother. The ironic part, the irony in all of this is my family, my mother and my sisters never visited my home. When they did, it was with an eye of criticism. It was with an eye of judgment. Look at what you have and look at what they have, meaning they being my sisters. And because I didn't have what they had, it was like, well, what your mama had is not good enough. She needs to come over here with us, you know. And that was the barometer by which they judged me as a mother, as a sister, and consequently as a daughter. So it was just dealing with all of that. And when I would confront the issue, you know, I was always told, oh, you bringing up the past and you living in the past. No, not living in the past. I'm not living in the past. It's just that because when it's time to deal with things, which is what you're supposed to do, the Bible tells us is when you have aught with the person, you're supposed to go to that person and fix it, right? That's in the Bible. So whenever I would take that approach, I was always attacked. Oh, Jennifer, you're always causing problems and you always bringing up the past. But the issue was never dealt with, if that makes sense. It's like when someone does something wrong to you and the relationship matters. And that person says, okay, I realize I did that wrong to you. And I need to stop that because that hurts you or that's wrong. So that the relationship can then, you know, begin to heal and, you know, go to the next level. That's never happened. That has never happened. So whenever I confront this, I've always been told I'm living in the past. Well, it's kind of hard to get over what has happened in the past when the same kind of thing continues to reoccur. And when I have to go to extreme measures to find out stuff, and knowing that my mother and my sisters, they don't care that they disrespect me. They don't care that the image, the way that they have treated me, my son's entire life, has had a negative impact on my relationship with my son. You would think, Jennifer, you must have been a bad mother. That's why I don't mind being transparent. You know, I had financial struggles. Whoa, I'm a bad mother. Right? I'm a bad mother. And so they would always use that, you know, because mama helped you financially. Okay? And I appreciated that. And once I got myself together, you know, we all go through these phases. And it's like, because of other reasons, my struggles were always put under a magnifying glass, and my sisters, specifically number 1 and number 4, especially number 4, and that boy she married, they've always used that and thrown it back in my face, especially her husband, number 4's husband, Jimmy U, on Facebook. And I'm to the point now where I don't care about their feelings, because a lot of times I have shied away or not dealt with this because I was afraid of what they would run and tell my son about me. And I already knew how their judgment and criticism and how their words negatively impacted my son. So a lot of times I wouldn't even deal with the issue, which most likely has worked to my disadvantage, has worked against me. Because it's like, well, I'm not even going to say that, because even when I have addressed it, when you address something with someone and you tell them, this is wrong, this is not good, I don't like the way you treat me when you do me this particular way. And when someone values what you're saying, they're not going to continue along that pattern. They're not going to continue that habit. They're going to make sure that what they do, they fix it so that the problem doesn't persist if they value that relationship. So that leads me to the conclusion that they don't value the relationship with me. Because if they did, I'm 43. My baby is 24. If they value their relationship with me as a daughter, as a sister, they will fix it. They will fix their issues. So I've had to learn how to deal with this without having that ability to go to them and say, this is what's hurting me. This is what has negatively, clearly impacted my relationship with my child. If you don't care about me, okay, at least care enough about your nephew, your grandson, to say, okay, we need to start treating Elijah's mama differently. We need to stop leaving her out. We need to stop talking about her. It's not happening. How do you deal with that? My way is doing these videos and talking about the issue and hoping that my testimony can help someone else, because someone else may be dealing with this same type of dynamic. Maybe not in your immediate family, but within your sphere of influence, to say, okay, this is how you cope with it in a healthy way. This is how you deal with it without lashing out, without it having a negative, you having to deal with negative consequences because you've done something to somebody. It is possible. It's not easy, but it is possible.